Hello, lovelies. Welcome to Love Yourself Truly, the podcast. I am Jess.
Hello, I'm Brittany.
Welcome back.
Welcome to our
Or
show.
welcome if you're brand new.
Yeah, or hello again if you're not.
Hola, bonjour.
That reminds me of when it's obviously an office episode, but when they're doing like the tour for the Saber guy or whatever, and they're like Pam's an international salesman, and she's like, hello, hola, bonjour, mi hao. That's all she knows.
Yeah, all I knew was hola and bonjour.
I
So
love it. I love it.
I had nothing else to add.
Adding
Cheers.
some culture.
Cheers is like more like, yeah, UK says
Cheers.
cheers.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like a UK thing.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cheers. Or like Australian thing. Cheers, mate. That's a really horrible accent. Not even
Howdy.
trying. Ah, speaking to our Southern Midwest folk. There you go. Howdy, partner. I'm not trying to make fun of
That
anyone.
was such a stereotype, like to make
No,
right now.
I know. But it's fine.
That's okay.
It's all right.
Anyways,
It's out of love, not
no,
anything
I
else.
know.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was like an endearment.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the word? Yes.
Yeah, that's a good word.
Do you have gratitude of the week?
I do. It actually pertains to what I was doing right before we sat down to record. But my gratitude this week is all the tennis coming back into my life. I think I spoke on this like last year or whatever that I started coaching again. But now I'm like playing regularly. I'm playing at least once a week, if not more. I have like a little doubles match that we like play once a week and single. Like I'm just having so much fun. Then also, I was watching, this is what I was doing right before this, was watching the US Open. So I was getting my professional tennis in. And yeah, it's just been super fun getting back into, I haven't watched professional tennis in like forever. I kind of just let it fall by the wayside, but now I'm getting back into like following the players and keeping up with tournaments and stuff. And then also my boyfriend's like totally getting into it too with me. So that's super
Nice.
exciting. I feel like I'm like teaching him all this stuff and all the lingo, and I like feel super cool that I know something he doesn't. So I'm like, yeah.
Instead of the other way around.
Yes, he knows, he's like an expert on everything. And I'm like, what? What? What's that? What does that mean? What?
That's like
So
hubby.
now,
He's good at everything, and then he's always teaching me things.
yeah, I'm like, how are these men just like naturally good at everything and just can pick up anything and know about it and just be like immediate experts? I don't
I
get
don't
it.
know. It's quite I don't know what word to use for it because it's not like annoying or frustrating, but also it kind of is because
It
it's like,
kind
how
of
are you
is.
so good at everything? Although I'm getting a flashback of playing villainous and none of us knowing what we were doing, especially the boys.
True. Very true.
Deer
But
in
yeah,
headlights.
that is
Anyways,
one that is one place I do excel, like puzzles and things like that. He's not a big puzzle person, like actual physical puzzles on a table. So I
yeah,
excel there. But I
board
excel at,
games. So
yeah, I excel at like the nerdy stuff. He excels at the cool stuff.
it's okay. You balance each other out.
Yes, exactly. But that's mine. Anyways, just
It's
getting back to
amazing.
my roots. What about you? What you got for us?
Gratitude of the week this week. Mine is I'm just extremely grateful for all of the amazing people in my life that I'm surrounded by. Like I just I just couldn't ask for better people. Like I don't I know that seems so silly and simple, but like just my family, my husband, my friends, like I have three girlfriends that are just my closest friends. Obviously, you're included in that, but just and then just hubby, and then just, like my family, even my dog. Like I just am surrounded by so many supportive and people who just like love me and just continue to like always be there and show up for me and just really make me feel so loved. Which I think is super special because I don't think very many people have that many people like that in their lives.
Mhm.
So for me to have what I feel like is so many, I just feel extremely grateful. So that's
That's
my gratitude.
amazing. I love that.
Just
That like,
feeling the love.
yeah, that kind of transitioned into our topic today perfectly.
Actually, it does.
When you said that, I was like, wait,
It
did
does.
you do
And I
this
did
on
not.
purpose?
No, I really didn't. It just, yeah, I don't know. It just is a coincidence, but yeah.
I like it. That's awesome though. It's so true. Or you don't realize how amazing, how not how amazing, how many amazing people you have around you until you like sit down and kind of are like, wow, I really am like pretty blessed with just people in my life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
true.
super special. Yeah.
So,
We should all do that. Take a minute, have a shout out to all of our close people. Yay.
our support gang,
Yeah.
our
Our support tribe vibe. I feel like I'm trying to name a bachelorette party now.
I know I was trying to think of a cool name, but I'm like, I'm struggling for some reason.
I was like thinking I was going to say the support sisters, but I was like, no, there's men involved too.
Anyways,
Anyways, yeah.
you guys could think of a cool name. Send it our way.
The homies.
Rolling with the homies.
Love it.
I
That's
haven't done
awesome
a song
though.
like that in a long time.
I know you haven't. I like that you busted it out.
Thanks.
Now that they're watching us on YouTube, you can actually see her dance moves.
Unfortunately, apologize in advance. They're
Don't
not that
apologize.
great. Trust me, you weren't missing out on much.
I like them. They add
Well,
a little
thank you.
pizzazz to my day.
You know,
Yeah.
if I could put a smile on somebody's face, then that's all I could ask for.
You always put a smile on mine. So
Oh, my heart is just bursting from all the love.
all right.
Okay.
You're just going right into our topic.
Yes,
I will
let you introduce it because you got some pretty good information to follow.
Yeah.
Or to start us off with.
Yeah. Whatever we're doing right now.
I don't know, I showed up today. That's all that matters. I'm here.
That is all that matters. Okay, so today we're talking about love and what it means to us. Easy peasy.
Simple.
Yeah, pretty simple. I'm going to kick us off with just a little bit of research that I found that kind of goes into just like the psychology of love. I found this super interesting. I did get my information off of brainway.com mostly and a couple other articles, which I'll put in the show notes. So take a peek at those. But the American Psychological Association, aka APA, describes love as a complex emotion that involves the following: affection toward another individual, a sense of tenderness, sensitivity to their responses, experiencing pleasure due to another individual. I'm pretty sure they mean sex in that portion.
I mean,
I guess like holding hands, cuddling, things like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
it'd be more than that.
Yeah. I just wrote that or like read that and I was like, and devotion. So that's like pretty much what love compiles of in the psychological world. There was is a psychologist named Robert Sturberg, and he states that all forms of love are composed of varying levels of these three elements. And the three elements are intimacy, and this causes individuals to feel close to one another, feelings of warmth and connectedness. So this can be for like friendships, romantic relationships, parents, etc. It's just basically letting someone into your inner world, and you just kind of, be vulnerable with each other and are safe with each other, that kind of stuff. Passion, this is the second element. Passion is both raw and tender, and it involves romance, sexual attraction, and sexual relations. And the last element is commitment. So this involves feelings of perseverance in maintaining a relationship and weathering its storms. So basically, you're just like committed to it, whether come hell or high water, you're sticking it out.
Which makes sense, long-term commitment.
For sure. So I thought the next part super interesting. So same psychologist, Robert Sturberg, he said that there are 7 forms of love overall, and these 3 components make up all 7. So I'm going to go into the 7 so we can kind of like honestly reading them, I was like, oh, what kind of love do I have? But okay. So the first one is liking, and this is pretty much just true friendship. Your main attribute is greater intimacy. So, like I said, just friendship, we just want to get to know each other. We're sticking it close, all that kind of stuff. Infatuation. This instance of love is basically your love at first sight, prone to be short-lived and prioritizes only passion. The next one is empty love. This emphasizes commitment, mainly seen in arranged marriages or a relationship where the intimacy and passion has completely fizzled out. I thought that was super interesting about like arranged marriages. I was like, oh, I never thought of that. But like he really goes into all the different aspects. So that's empty love.
Such a sad name for it.
I know, right? But it's pretty much just commitment. The intimacy and passion is not really there. The next one is romantic love. And this is a combination of heightened intimacy and passion and refers to feelings of mutual appreciation, desire, and excitement together, physical proximity as well. This was pretty funny, but he said, this is what most songs, like love songs, are about, this type of love. Also, it's like the worst when you lose it. So like also what a lot of heartbreak songs are about. So thought that was pretty funny. This kind of reminds me of like the first couple months of dating where you're just like all ooey gooey and
The honeymoon phase.
yeah, that like intimacy and passion is there, but the commitment's kind of, new or just like, yeah. So I thought that was interesting. The next one is companionate love. I don't know if I said that right.
Sounded right to me.
Cool. I was just going through the spelling, phonetics. So this is where relationships is like their mainly intimacy and commitment are the defining features. This kind of pertains to more older romantic relationships. So basically when you get past the honeymoon phase, where there's no longer a great deal of passion, but the fondness and appreciation are still there. I really liked that. I was like, oh, I like, the fondness, the appreciation. You still really like this person, but you're that passion, just that heat is kind of calmed down. The next one is fatuous love. And this is often characterized by impulsivity and drama. This connection is where the commitment is based largely on their attraction to one another and not truly getting to know each other or even finding common ground. So this is basically like lust. That's kind of how I felt like it was. And then the last one, and this is like the one we should all be striving for, is consummate love. So this is stable, satisfying, but not easily achieved. This has a strong balance of intimacy, passion, and commitment, and with all three elements acknowledged and tended to. This form of love includes real admiration for each other through deep familiarity, a sense of attraction, and mutual agreement that this relationship is worthwhile. It's highly crucial to maintain this love by expressing and tending to all three of these facets throughout your relationship. So, you want to keep the passion alive. You want to keep getting to know each other deeper. You want to have that strong commitment. So that's kind of why this is like the ultimate love. So yeah.
Never would have thought that there's like 7 types of love. Like I
Me
thought
either.
love is love. Like,
Yeah.
well, you have different types of love depending on the relationship with people, but I never really thought that like they'd have terms for that, I guess.
Yeah.
So interesting.
My only differentiation was like you love someone or you're in love with someone. Like,
yeah.
I was like, there's your difference. But yeah, super interesting. And I think it's interesting how they all utilize all three of these aspects. Like there's only these three, but yet you can create all these different components and like, different types of love. So
super interesting.
I thought so. So that's your psychology lesson for today.
Well, thank you.
You're very welcome for that. It was actually a really interesting article. So like if you guys want to learn more, I highly recommend reading the articles. I put The three were extremely similar. And like I said, they're all in the show notes. So click away and read
Amazing.
along if you'd like. Yeah,
Fun.
super fun. Now we get into the nitty gritty, vulnerable stuff.
Yeah, this was very like, again, I sat down and I was a little bit not overwhelmed, but a little bit intimidated by
Mm,
like just sitting with myself and like reviewing everything that we did. And
hmm.
then the fact of like being open and vulnerable and showing up here to share it, I was just a little bit like, ooh, ooh,
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I noticed a pattern, honestly,
same.
that I got into, or that I'll get into later, but I was like, oh, weird. Maybe that's why I'm like having not issues, but like struggles in my current, anyways, we'll
Yeah,
get there. We'll get there.
we will get there. Are you ready?
I'm
Ready to dive
ready.
in?
Yeah, you want to kick us off?
Yes, I will kick us off. Okay. So I'm
Get
gonna
yours out of the
first
way.
thank you. Yeah, just run through it. I'll try not to speed through it just to be done with it.
Yeah, right.
Um, so started off with the childhood and love. So like I guess our introduction to love, the kind of love we were surrounded by as kids.
Hmm.
So as I said, I think in last episode, my parents split when I was super young. I was only 6 months old when they split. So they didn't have like that loving marriage, they didn't have that. Whereas my grandparents, they were married, but both of my grandparents were very unaffectionate. Like they did not
Hmm.
show affection to one another at all.
Okay.
So digging into this, I was the firstborn child or a grandchild, niece,
Hmm.
all of the first baby of the family, and I was spoiled. Like I was very very spoiled, and my grandparents were obsessed with me. Like I'm not even saying that to like brag, but they were literally obsessed with me from
Oh
what
my
I
God.
remember. um so I was a little bit of a brat when I was a child because I was spoiled and I obviously had people obsessed with me. Um
As some
but
would be.
Yes. But my family, my entire family, just thinking back to like my family as a kid, they really did not show any affection to one another. Like, I mean, nobody in my family. Thinking about it, I am probably like the most affectionate out of my family, which most of my family would agree because I'm very affectionate compared to everybody else. Um, so my mom showed love by teasing and being aggressive. So kind of like bullying me in a way, like where
Hmm.
I mean, playfully, right? Like playfully beating me up, pinching my cheeks and all of that. Um, and my dad showed love by buying me the things that I wanted. So I felt, looking back, and this probably wasn't his intent, but looking back, I felt like it was more so to kind of keep me busy. Like he was busy himself with like work, and just like he was doing racing on the weekends. So like I felt like he would just kind of buy me things to show me that he loved me, and then it would kind of like just entertain me.
Hmm.
Um and I love you and emotions weren't expressed in my family. Like none of that was really expressed or at least shown. I love yous were very, very rare in my family. So it was a very rare occasion to be told, like, I love you. Like it was kind of just
Interesting.
assumed that love was there,
Yeah.
which doing all of this really made me realize why my love languages are what they are, like physical touch and words of affirmation. Like I think the reason why these are my love languages was because I didn't get any of that as a child. Um, so it just was kind of mind blowing doing this because I was like, holy crap, like it makes sense why my love languages are what they are. Like, especially words of affirmation. Like,
Hmm.
I love to be told how you feel about me, or, that you love me, or what, I don't know, like it
That
makes sense.
reassurance.
Yeah. Cause I
Yeah.
didn't really get that as a child. So it was a little bit, eye opening to do this because I was like, whoa, like I guess I didn't realize like I and I never felt like I wasn't loved. Like I just need to say that because I don't want like my family listening to this and they're like, she feels like she wasn't loved. I know I was loved. It just wasn't shown in a way that I guess like
It wasn't
other people,
obvious.
yeah, and the other people that I know or talk to, like their upbringing was very different. And like my husband, for example, like his parents have been married for like think 35 something years, and they're very much in love today as they were when they first started, and they're very like affectionate and lovey-dovey. So just to hear his upbringing compared to mine. That's what I
Mhm.
mean by like, it just, yeah, wasn't obvious.
Got it.
Um, so anyways, jumping into learnings of love from like my past relationships and friendships. My first love, sometimes they say like your first love, you're too young to know what love is, right? But for me, my first love was very, very real. And what I believe to be love, at least it was real on my end. Um, I think the reason why this person was my first love was because like we spent so much time together and there was a lot of affection there, like holding hands and hugging and just like not groping, but like just touchy feely.
Totally.
There was effort in it, just about like how much this person showed me that they liked me and they were into me, as well as just the creating the memories with them. So it was very, very special for me. And I think the reason why it was like, in addition to those reasons, the reason why it was like my first love was because like it was an experience of roller coaster of emotions. Like with this person, I felt so many different emotions for the very first time, like the excitement and the happiness and the joy of being in love with somebody and really liking somebody and having a relationship with them. And
Yeah.
also though, like it was my very first heartbreak and rejection, and that led to a lot of frustration and anger and sadness. And I think what made me realize like how much I really did like this person and love this person was when it was over, like how much it affected me. And losing somebody that you had those experiences with and you felt the way that you did about them, like it was very heartbreaking. So for me,
Mhm.
that was kind of my first love, like my experience of my first love. I think diving into like kind of more so what I've learned from past relationships, I think most of my past relationships actually taught me what love isn't versus what love is. For
Same
example, just
girl.
for example, just having relationships that just didn't work. Like I don't think love is selfish. Love isn't unkind, it's not hurtful, and it's not manipulative. So I think a lot of past relationships showed me, what love isn't.
Yeah.
What else I got here? Also my friendship with Alyssa taught me a lot about love and what true friendship is. She was the first friend I had in my life that really showed me like how important it is for somebody to accept me for all that I am. And just always having my back, always showing up for me no matter what would happen in life or what life threw at me, just always being there, as well as like no judgment. Like in no point in time has Alyssa ever made me feel judged in my life. Like I I can honestly say that like she probably knows some of my deepest and darkest secrets, and she's never judged me like for
Mhm.
anything that I've felt or anything that I've shared with her, as well as she's just always been fully honest with me, to help me be the best me.
Yeah.
And I never knew that somebody like could be that way towards somebody else. Like they want to, even though sometimes the truth might hurt, or just being honest because they want what's best for you, because they have your best interest at heart, like just really is very mind-blowing, especially in a friendship.
Yeah. And to like know that they're coming from a place of love, not like just being like petty or whatever. Like when they're
Yeah.
disagreeing with you, they're just like, maybe we shouldn't do that.
The other thing that I learned from all my past relationships is that words are nice. Anybody could say anything that they want to you, but without having action behind it, the words mean nothing.
Preach it.
I think I think that's very important because like, just thinking of past relationships, like especially a relationship that I was in for a very long time that was very toxic. This person would tell me certain things and kind of like make me believe what they were saying was real, but then there was no action behind it and they would act in a different way. And I think that was a very hard lesson, is that anybody can say anything to you, but unless there's action behind it, like it just really, you know, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, that was a very hard relationship to deal with. But taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Um, Again, lastly, I think my relationship with my hubby is what's taught me the most, about love specifically. I think being in love with him has shown me like being in love should be natural. It shouldn't be forced, and it should be healthy and well balanced. I think as a couple and individually, you should have that well-rounded balance. Sharing the same values and goals is so important, especially,
Yeah.
you know, being with somebody for so long, you have to have the same goals and values to continue going in the same direction and being able to remember the why you're doing it, right?
Yep.
Your partner should be your best friend and someone you want to experience every part of life with. I think that's the one thing I will say with Darren is like, he really is my best friend. And I just think about anybody else and I'm like, there's nobody else I would want to experience life with, you know, the good,
Yeah.
the bad, and the ugly. When things get difficult, you have to be willing to fight together. You have to be willing to choose each other and put in the effort as partners. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah.
And
That's
then,
that commitment.
yeah. And then lastly, I think forgiveness and patience is required in love.
Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
Yes, exactly. So now diving into kind of what does love mean to me. So bear with me because there's a lot here. And I didn't really know how to write this because like, in my opinion, like I wrote it to where what love means to me, but like at the same time, what I hope my partner would think love is, you know, like it's a
Yeah.
mutual thing.
Yeah.
But the first one is having that natural chemistry and spark. I think it's extremely important when you love somebody to be able to vibe with them. Like if the vibe is off, it's just, to me, it's not gonna work.
Yeah. That has to be there for sure.
Exactly. Having a friendship and solid foundation of understanding of who we are and why and what makes us who we are. I think that's extremely important too. Like I think love is just knowing each other and knowing the basics and the foundation of that, but also having the friendship. I think that's what me and Darren started off as friends before we actually developed into a relationship. And I had never had that in my past relationships. I've always just kind of dove head first, whereas Darren and I established a friendship before we actually started, you know, jumped in romantically.
That's that intimacy.
Accepting each other for the best parts, the flaws and mess, and loving every part of who we are. So going back to like no judgment, just really accepting each other, I think is extremely important because as we all know, we're not perfect. We all have our flaws, but we all have our best parts of us too. And somebody who can accept you for all of you, I think is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Understanding that there will be difficulties, but choosing each other and never giving up on one another. To me, that's a big part of love, is choosing each other every day and not giving up on the person just because times get tough or difficult or, you know, whatever life throws at you or whatever happens. Being honest and kind to one another. And what I mean by this is just being able to be open and show your heart to somebody and be brave in how you feel and not hold back. I think if you can open yourself up to somebody, that to me is showing love, because that's not a very easy thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of like taking down those guards,
Exactly.
those walls, like actually letting them in to your inner heart.
Yeah. Letting them see your soul, letting them see your heart, letting them see, I guess, going back to who you are in a way. Being supportive and showing up for each other in times of hardship, celebrating each other, but also showing appreciation, inspiring each other to be better and their best selves. I have always said Darren is my better half, and I truly believe that. I really do think he is my better half. Being each other's peace of mind amidst the chaos of the world. I think the person that you're with and that you love, like I see it as being a peace of mind instead of it being chaotic and just confusing, and, you know, just it brings you a peace versus
like
stress.
anxiety ridden, emotional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then lastly, just at the end of the day, I think love is wanting the person to be happy no matter what. And I mean, like, God forbid if Darren were to ever leave me or divorce me for some reason, or we were to ever separate, like at the end of the day, I would just want him to be happy. Like if it's with me or without me, like his happiness means the world to me. So I think that's a big part of love too, is you just want the person you love to be happy no matter what.
Yep, that's very true.
So
Dang.
yeah, that's all I got for you. I know that was a lot.
Dang. No, that's good. That was, yeah, I liked that. That was really good. Some like good insight, really
Thanks.
good points. I definitely felt a lot of that, especially like when you're talking about you and Darren. That's a lot of it's how I feel with Dan too. Like, especially the friendship thing. It's so important.
Yeah, I think
And it made
I
a huge difference.
yeah, it really does. Like it's I mean, I don't get me wrong, like there's very little exes in my past that like I've stayed friends with and I've had that friendship with them after the fact, but
Hmm.
all my past relationships, like I never had the friendship before jumping in
Hmm.
romantically. And I really do think that that's why Darren and I have such a solid foundation, is because we were friends first. So we built that friendship, and that, because when you're friends, like you have, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, like a friendship versus romantic, but like,
Yeah, I
I
get
don't know.
it.
It's just, it's weird. It's different.
You kind of create this like already mutual respect,
Mm-hmm.
this and a genuine liking for each other. Like you're like, oh, this chick's cool. Oh, I like, I like this guy.
That's a
Just
good point.
that not romantic, not like attracted or any. It's just the likeness. So
Yeah.
then you already know, like, oh, I'm cool with this person. Yeah, fuck yeah, let's try, something else. But I think like that's what at least for me and like my relationship, that's what really did it for us, was the like we already knew we genuinely liked each other. We already knew we had a lot in common. We already knew little quirks or how we were, to an extent. Obviously, once the walls come down, more stuff comes out. But
A lot of stuff comes out.
yeah, mostly on my part. He stays pretty much the exact same, so that's cool.
It's funny.
I'm definitely the fortunate one. I feel bad for him sometimes, but but yeah, no, I think it's super important, and it does just kind of create that. It creates a really strong base
Hmm.
foundation, and then you can build from that.
I think too, because it's so easy to be attracted to somebody physically and have that lust, right? And it's, as we all know, like that doesn't stay around
Hmm.
forever. Like it
Hmm.
does fizzle out, and I feel like it comes in waves, right? In different stages of life. Whereas like when you have that friendship, like you said, you have that mutual respect and that liking for each other. So you're able to like still have that mutual understanding of what you feel for each other, even though that fizzles out for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Yeah,
Anyways,
and I mean also too, like when you hang out with each other, it's like you already know you're gonna have a good time because like it's
yeah.
my buddy, like
Yeah.
it's my pal.
I know. It's so funny too, because Darren and I are just so like, we will see the same thing and we'll look at each other and we just know what the other person is thinking. Or like we'll see the same thing and Darren will say it out loud and I'll look at him. I'm like, I literally was thinking the same freaking thing. You just literally took it out of my brain and said it. And it's just
Yeah.
so funny how like you develop that connection with somebody, to
Hmm.
where like there's very few people I've ever had that connection with. And with Darren, it's like on a whole nother level, because it's
Oh,
just
for
like
sure.
literally we'll see something and we'll look at each other and we just know what the other person is thinking.
I love that. That's like the best feeling. And it's like when like you have that and it's like you're in this relationship, you spend almost all your time with this person. So it's like, you gotta I read this one quote one time. I don't remember who it was, where it was, or anything like that. So I apologize. But it was basically how when you are picking your wife or your husband or your long-term partner, you have to like determine if they're someone that you can have a never-ending conversation with. And I'm like, "Oh my god, that's a really good point." Like, you wanna be able to have enough in common with this person that you or just, like, mutual interests or whatever that you guys can, like, just have this never-ending conversation. It's like, that's kind of a good way to look at it because it's right, like, we just never stop talking.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know? Yeah. So,
But yeah, it's your turn now. Are you ready to share your
oh,
stuff?
no, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Yes,
Hide
you are. You got this.
me.
If I could do it, I felt like I had a hard time explaining all of that, but I got through it. You could do it.
All right. Childhood love's gonna get a little heavy, so just fair warning. Okay. Childhood love for me, I had a really hard time determining this. I'm definitely one that has blocked out a lot of my childhood too. So I had to really sit here and think. So a lot of my notes are scattered around in all different orders. So I apologize. It was like as a memory came up, I was like jotting it down. But okay. I was definitely daddy's girl. I think I stated in the last episode, my parents, they did stay together until I was in my 20s, but they fought and bickered and yelled, and it was a very toxic household. But I was so I grew up with a stepsister and then or not stepsister, half sister. On my mom's side, I'm the only child from my mom and dad. So the household was my brother from my dad's and then my sister from my mom and then me. So me being the baby as well, I was definitely dad like all my baby pictures are of me laying on my dad's chest, him holding me like just constant. I was always with him. Um, the way I remember just like receiving love from like earliest memories was that kind of physical touch, just that, always sitting, he always wanted me to hold me, sitting in his lap, lots of hugs. We would just sit and spend time together, like watch movies, play sports, um, that kind of stuff. And it's kind of interesting now that I'm like looking back, but I was super affectionate and super like cuddly with my dad and my brother, but I never wanted my mom or sister to touch me. I was like, ew, get away from me. Like nope. So that don't ask me why. But that was something. So I never got the like or my mom would hug me and stuff, but I'm never, even to this day, I'm like, still like when I hug her, I feel awkward. Like, I'm just like, this is weird.
Actually, I've noticed that now that I think about it.
Yeah.
When I've seen your interactions, I've seen you're like a little hesitant.
Yeah, because it's not natural for me. Where if you see me with my dad, I'm like bear hug. I never want to let go. Like, oh my God, like
Mhm.
I think I just feel extremely safe and protected. Um, where I just, yeah, didn't develop that connection with my mom, unfortunately. So, again, with like the parents and the household being toxic and whatever, um, this kind of sounds silly, but my first like real like safe feeling love was with my first dog. Um, like this is like the thing I remember most. I think I was about 4 or 5. We had a big old white German Shepherd. He was bigger than I was. And whether it was my parents fighting, my siblings fighting, my parents fighting with my siblings, grandparents coming over and then them getting into it, like, why are you guys all fighting? I would typically grab my dog and just go hide in my room, and he was just always a companion, and I just felt very safe and protected and unconditional love, honestly, because he would always just be there and happy to see me, all this stuff. He never yelled, obviously. So yeah, that was very protecting. And I also, when my dog was, or I would hide with him too, like under my bed. um or if he wasn't around outside, whatever, I just got really good at being alone and entertaining myself. So again, those feelings of love just, I, I don't know. I never really, I don't feel like I ever realized or recognized the true meaning of love. I would say the closest I got to it were my grandparents and my godparents. So my grandparents, they actually used to live in Havasu. So whenever they would come into Southern California where we lived, they would, need to run their like city errands, go to the bank and do this and do that. So I'd always just go with them and run errands with them. And I loved that time just being with grandma and grandpa. I felt special. Sometimes my sister would come and be fun, or they babysit us, or like they took us to Vegas, so it was just like fun. And I mean, there's some moments where like I did something bad and my grandpa yelled at me. So I was like, oh, I went to grandma, like, hold me. random thought, grandma is the only woman that I'm like fine with holding and hugging and stuff. I don't know. Anyways, so I think honestly that's also too why you felt like your love languages were missing, like what you want now, it was missing from your childhood. I feel like I'm the opposite. Like what I want now is because that might have been the only time I felt love. So like with grandparents and my godparents, it was like quality time. They just loved having us around, having me around. There was little to no yelling. With my godparents, I always felt super loved there, felt super important, felt like I was heard and listened to. Um, there was no screaming there at all. It was just genuine fun whenever I was at their house. Loved being there. Um, I was included by my god sisters despite our like 10-year age difference. So it was just like, especially at that age, I was probably like 7 or 8, and they're dragging me along in their, cars and whatever, like, come on, little sis, let's go. So yeah, it was just kind of like, oh, I felt included, all this kind of stuff. So that's kind of yeah, where the quality time, where I think love kind of stemmed from. I also felt love from my siblings, both my siblings, whenever my parents would start yelling or getting in a fight, they typically drag me to one of their rooms and they would distract me, play games with me, make up stuff to do, just to kind of like get my head out of it. And then looking back, I'm like, that was really cool of them, but also like protective, safe. So I think that's kind of a theme. But yeah, so that's kind of where love developed for me, I guess. What I've learned since then, and this is kind of where I've noticed a pattern, and I can't even say that I learned a lot about love from my exes. But I'll kind of go, I did it to where I was like my first boyfriend when I was 18. Also back up really fast so this makes sense. I was raised in a very Christian home, and it was drilled into our head that the first person you date is the person you marry. They needed to ask permission from my parents to date me, all this stuff. Like dating was not allowed in high school or anything like that. I did it, but they didn't know. Shh.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yes, dude.
My first boyfriend was like 7th grade.
Yeah, I
How old
mean,
were you in 7th grade?
like 13,
Mm.
12 maybe. But yeah, so I mean, I had like little boyfriends or whatever, but I got over them in like 2 weeks. So I was like, why tell the parents? That was my rebellious stage.
That's
But
funny.
at 18, I also went to a Christian college. So I felt like this is where I'm going to find my husband, all this stuff, just psycho upbringing, put this psychoness in my head. Anyways, met someone, thought he was the bee's knees. But with him, I never, like, he did have an addiction to pornography. So I never really thought I was good enough. His parents and his family were extremely wealthy, and we were definitely not. I mean, I was going to college just because I had a scholarship to pay for it, where they were just throwing down cash, that kind of stuff. When I did meet his parents, like his mom was very controlling of like his sister and as far as her looks. And I was a little thicker back in the day and just like more athletic build. And his mom like legitimately told me I was fat. So I just never felt like I was good enough for this, but just wanted to stick it out because I felt like, this is what we're supposed to do. And he would tell me those things too, like, yeah, we're going to get married and all this stuff. So I was like, okay. Then over the summer break, when we were not living together, but living in the dorms, cheated on me. I found out, and just kind of that just equally confirmed that I wasn't good enough. So that's kind of where a lot of my baggage started. And again, that's kind of where I realized what I didn't want. I didn't want parents or in-laws telling me that I'm fat or just, all this kind of stuff. It's just not good.
It's interesting. Like there's always that one relationship that's like super toxic and it shows you what you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's interesting. I mean, maybe it's more than one, but there's like a specific relationship, right? Where I feel like it's very like because they say that you have three loves in your entire life. You have your first love, you have the love that teaches you, like, is the most painful and teaches you a lot, and then you have your final love or whatever. So it's kind of interesting because, like, similar, it's just not funny, but it's just crazy how similar, like, the toxic relationship I was referring to is very similar to your toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting. Like, there's always that one relationship where it's like, no, this is not what I want. Like, it
Yeah.
really is like clarity where it's like, this is not where I want my future
Yeah.
to go. Like, this is not healthy.
Big red X.
Yeah. Big,
Yeah,
like, it's like a bunch of flags, red flags sprinkled around. And it's just like, there's alarm
literally.
bells going off, and you're like, oh, got to get out of this. Nope.
Yeah, I like literally, I was 18. I never even thought about body image until that moment. And I was like, huh, is that a thing? Like, and I feel like that stuck with me.
Yeah.
It literally
It's
has stuck with me since I was 18, unfortunately, and I'm breaking down that stigma. But by doing this homework, I was like, oh, that's where it started. Like, I
crazy.
almost have let her control that for me. So I gotta let that shit go, bitch.
Well, it's crazy too that, like, it wasn't specifically your boyfriend, it was his mom. Like,
Mhm.
that's even crazier to me
Mhm.
because it's like,
Yeah. Well, because I wanted, you want to be like cool with the mom. And
yeah,
I thought his sister was super sweet. Like we were the same age because he was a couple years older than me. He was like 21 when we were dating. So, she was 17. So I just wanted to get in with the girls. And then I was like, oh God. Yeah. The, I would say after that relationship though, I pretty much just didn't even want to date or anything. I was just like, screw this. I'm going to focus on me, my school, and my tennis, which is what I did until I graduated. And then I met someone that this is when I really believed I fell in love. Um, this was about when I was 22-ish. And I thought we were, I was, again, not because of the religious thing. It was just, he was super fun. We got along so well. We were kind of friends first, we had a lot of mutual friends. We hung out all the time. I don't know. It just felt good and easy. But then he wouldn't commit. So we had this 3 years where, you know, if he wanted me to come over, he would text me, "Hey, come over." If not, I wouldn't hear from him. So it was that kind of a relationship. Again,
a situationship, I think is what they're called now.
yeah, yeah, situationship. 3-year situationship, like Brittany. Ugh. Again, though, I think I stuck it out and like was just wanting it so bad because I think I really did love him. I liked, he was foreign and it just felt like we had so much in common. He was a tennis player as well. Um, Whenever I didn't get any text messages or like he'd go out on the weekends, I just felt angst, nervous, anxiety. Again, that feeling of just not being good enough. I felt like I was his girl when it was convenient, kind of a deal. We traveled a lot with the team. I was coaching at the time, and he was a player, so on that too. But we were the same age, so it doesn't really matter. But so it was like when we traveled, we took that kind of stuff. And it was
Yeah.
like everyone knew, and on the team, everyone knew, but like again, it wasn't like no one deemed it as serious, but in my head it was serious. So that was blah. I did learn a lot of self-worth from that though, because I was the one that cut it off and it was just like, I can't be your side piece anymore. Like I cannot do this. Um, I don't think he ever like did anything with anyone else. Like we were exclusive sexually. But yeah, it just whenever I saw him talking to other girls, because he was this big flirt, I was just like, oh, just got a sick feeling in my stomach. It's just
Yeah.
that relationship. Um, Fast forward till I was like 25, 26 was when I had met my previous, not the current relationship, but the one right before that. This is again, this one I really did feel like we were gonna go all the way. Like this was when prior to the other ones, I kind of knew I wasn't in love in the prior ones because they weren't committing or it was toxic. This was like not toxic. It was a very loving relationship. Um, we were genuine. This was the first time I genuinely had that like best friend feeling. We had good connection. I didn't have any doubts. Um, I had the like, I want to do everything with this person attitude. Like I was just like almost infatuated, but not quite, not like
Mhm.
obsessive. Um, I think where it went wrong though is that like he didn't always want to do what I wanted to do, or like when I'd be like, oh, there's an event or like, family thing that we have to go to, he'd be like, oh, just go by yourself. Oh, just go by yourself. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, just go by yourself. So I just felt like I was always, all right, gotta go by myself, and I never felt like a true unit. So that's something that I learned from that relationship was that love and a relationship is a true union and a partnership. And it's two of you now, not just one and sometimes the other. So at first I went along with it and we did date for like 4 years. I went along with it because I was thinking like, oh, it's good that we have our independence still. And, it's okay to be alone or do different things. And it's okay to sacrifice and all this kind of stuff. And then after a while, I kind of, people started, asking like, why doesn't he ever come around or why, that kind of stuff. And it was just like, I got tired of making excuses or just tired of going places by myself, to be honest. So that again, I ended that one. I think I was able to realize my self-worth from my last relationship and kind of carry that strength on. That was probably the most difficult relationship to end simply because I did still love him. I just wasn't in love with him anymore. And nothing went wrong. Like we didn't have a fight. Like it just, he did nothing wrong per se. It was just how I was feeling. So that was a very difficult time. But I feel like it made me stronger and it made me really hone in on exactly what I wanted and not even dare to compromise. Like I was about to be single till the day I died, kind of no compromise, you know? And then we get to today and I can't even imagine not meeting this man. Um, he redefined love completely. Like I had no true definition of love until my current relationship. Met him when I was 27, but we didn't start dating until I was about 30. So we had a good like 2.5 years of friendship under our belt, which was I again, like you said, I think was very, very, very important. Um, so basically I kind of just bullet pointed some things that I've learned about love from my honey now. Unconditional love is 1,000,000% unconditional. We have that true, what I deem to be true soulmate energy. There's a connection that I feel that is just like unpenetrable. I'm always enough, no matter if it's my worst day or my best day. Like he's always there, always wanting to be there for me. Sorry, I'm getting a little choked up talking about this. um, he's extremely patient. I've also learned patience.
Mhm.
Respect is a huge thing and mutual respect. We have this adventurous, exciting spirit to where, we want to just experience everything together, which I think is really cool. It's a true union and partnership. There's a lot of not a lot, but there's give and take to where, if he's down and I just pour love onto him, the next time I'm down, he's gonna pour all his love into me. So we kind of have that mutual give and take. It's not, no, we'll always fill each other back up. It's never one draining the other. There's true adoration and affection, intimacy, excitement, forgiveness, like you said. Like, honestly, love seems limitless. Like, it's just all the good characteristics, you know? I've never felt this at all. And this is what I really believe to be true love. Um, and then kind of going into what love means to me, it was a lot of what he's shown me. But I kind of just bullet pointed just some characteristics that I think are really important. Love is understanding, judgment free, safe, patient, the space to be your most authentic self, vulnerable, positive communication, supportive, selfless, intimate, appreciative, kind, zero expectations, and you're allowed to just let go. So
I
that's
love that.
love.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, kudos to you because like you dove deep into like your past relationships. Like I didn't even include my most toxic one because I was just like, that doesn't even deserve the time or energy or space. And quite honestly, if I would have referred to it, guaranteed the majority of like my family and friends would be like, why even waste the space? So
Yeah.
kudos to you because like the one very, very toxic. I mean, I had quite a few toxic relationships, but the most toxic one, like everybody disliked this person. Like everybody told me, and I just didn't want to see it. And I
Hmm.
don't even like speaking about the person because I just
Yeah.
so kudos to you because you opened yourself up in a very vulnerable and honest way, you know. So
Thank you. Yeah, it was, I don't know, as I was doing it, it just kind of kept flowing, and it was healing actually.
yeah,
And that's when I noticed the pattern of like, wow, from the very first relationship, that lack of self-worth is, it just dove down even deeper the more, as time went on. So I'm like, geez, if I was 18 then, well, can't even do the math. That's like what, 16 years of shit that I have to now clean out, work through, and just let go. So
yeah,
it was very healing. It was very eye-opening. It was also extremely, it made me extremely grateful for what I have.
yeah. And I think it's so important too because like love means something different to everybody, right? And like we all have different experiences throughout our life. Like from your first love, it being more so, well, not your first boyfriend wasn't your first love, if I remember correctly, right?
I
It
mean,
was, yeah,
you think you're in love, but no,
yeah,
I definitely wasn't. I wouldn't say I felt love until I was like 20, so like the second one. And
yeah.
then
I
I
mean, I
felt
don't even
stronger
know.
love.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, like, I don't even know my first love. Like, they necessarily weren't my first boyfriend because, again, I was like 12 years old. So, you know, kind of you referring to like who I liked for 2 weeks and then got over it. It was like a lot of that at that
Yeah.
age. But him and I had always like gone back to each other. Like,
Hmm.
we were on and off for a really long time. But like when we were first on the very first time, like, that's when I remember feeling love. Like,
Hmm.
I had never felt that kind of love, which
Hmm.
is, I think, is what made me like he was my first love, right? And
Yep.
then like the second time I thought I was in love was with the toxic relationship, but at the end of that relationship, I mean, and he was addicted to like pain pills and stuff like that, very similar to like your situation.
Hmm.
But he just was, and he was very manipulative, and he just like was very toxic person in general. And
Yeah.
then after that was over, that was not love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
No, I
maybe
totally get it.
maybe it was, but anyways, so
Yeah. You always like think, because you're in the relationship, you're like, oh,
mhm,
I must be in love. That's kind of how I
yeah,
feel. And it's like weird looking back at I mean, again, I haven't had a lot, not a lot other relationships, but they're so small and pointless. But the other thing was that all these people are people that everyone in my life loved. Like, the first one, he hid his addiction. I was the only one that knew about it, and his parents tried to get him help and whatever, but I was the only one that like really knew how bad it was. And but they were all these people that like everyone genuinely liked, friends, family, and so it was just like
yeah,
hard. It made it even harder to be like, oh, but maybe I don't like them,
yeah. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
too, like I love that you were able to walk away from each relationship
Mhm.
because you knew like it just wasn't what you like. You had the courage to do that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because most
Mhm.
people wouldn't do that. Like I didn't leave my toxic relationship. He ended up cheating on me, and then obviously ended up coming back. And then I finally was like, when he started talking about marriage and stuff, I was like, this is not what I want. Like, this is
Mhm.
very like gasoline and fire. Like, this is not a good relationship to be in. And then I finally walked away. And then shortly after is when I met Darren.
Mhm.
But I love that you were able to do that because thinking back, like, I don't think there were very many relationships that I walked away from.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, like I said, the last one was definitely the hardest because again, nothing was wrong. It was just me realizing this isn't the life I want to live. And it
Yeah.
was like it would have been so easy to stay and just been like, he's a chiropractor now and like we would have been comfortable and it would have been on The Office, Angela marrying Andy versus
Well,
going
unfortunately, I
truly for
think,
Dwight.
yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think that's a common thing though. Like, I think
Yeah,
most people do just settle because
settle.
it's easy
That's
and
what I was looking
comfortable.
for.
Like, even though they're not happy and they're not
Or there's like
feeling,
one thing missing, they're like, "Oh, this is as good as it's gonna get," you know?
yeah,
Like,
like
mhm,
they're okay with just like coasting, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's so sad because once you do find that love and you feel all the things that you feel, like you just feel that like pure happiness of like, wow, this person, like I just can't imagine my life without this person. And yes, like we know passion fades and all these things
mhm,
fade and you can gain that back, but like to not to just settle and I don't know, like it's just sad because I think that
yeah,
is the normal thing. Like most people I'm sure you talk to when you really, really talk to somebody, I'm sure they're not fully satisfied, right?
mhm.
And I think, I mean, we live in a society where I don't know, it's just crazy.
Not a lot of people are they settle because they might not have the self-worth of being like, "No, I deserve more. I can go get everything that I wanna get," or just that,
Or they're
like
too far deep into it. They're married,
yeah,
they have kids, like,
mhm,
it's just they've got a family they have to consider. It's
yeah,
just, like it's just
yeah,
it's sad because I think as we grow up, we're sold on this idea of what love is, this fairy tale love. But
mhm,
I think you can find a love that has everything that you need. But I think we're so quick to just want it so badly that we settle for the first thing.
especially us as women.
Yeah, instead of just waiting and figuring out what it is you truly want and what is truly important to you and taking the time to get there, right? And then not settling and being able to have it all. I think it's sad because I think most of us are just sold on this idea as kids of like, you got to get married, you got to have kids. And it's like, I don't know, like, it's just crazy because it's just thinking to past relationships. Like, I wish and again, I'm not going to regret the past because it led me to where I am today. But just thinking
Absolutely.
back, I wish I would have avoided or left relationships sooner
Mhm,
because I just didn't need to be in that
mhm,
situation. Right. So it's
yeah.
just, anyways, but here we
Yeah, no,
are.
I get it. Yeah. But like you said, all things of the past lead us to where we are now.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I don't know where I would be without my honey now. It like I got big old hard eyes for the man. And
That's
it's
all that
not
matters.
fading. Yeah, and it's only been 2 years, but it's not fading. It's if anything, it's getting stronger. So, it's
That's
special.
good. That's good.
I'm glad I held out. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Okay, so just to wrap up, I do have a few interesting facts about love that we
Love fun facts.
I know they're like they're super interesting. So I just
Okay.
wanted to share them with you. My source
Yes.
is from marriage.com, which is funny because we referred to them last time,
Yeah, we
not
did.
an ad. But the article was called 100 plus interesting facts about love you probably didn't know by Rachel Pace. Don't worry, I'm not going to go down 100 of them. I'm just doing the top 10 most interesting ones. So the first one is that monogamy also happens in the animal kingdom. So most animals also find one lifelong partner in life.
Mhm. I wanna say otters are like that, and or maybe not.
Penguins,
Dolphins, I think, are like that,
penguins, I
and
think, and then lions, maybe, and lionesses.
yeah, maybe,
No,
I'm not sure.
I
I
know
don't know.
penguins for sure, though.
Yeah, I do know that, yeah, I don't know. But I've heard that there's quite a few animals that are like that.
Hmm.
Mhm.
The second one is being in love is like being high on drugs. So falling in love can actually feel like a dose of cocaine. I've never
Mm.
done cocaine, but I guess if I've fallen in like because I've fallen in love, technically I have. I don't know. I thought
Mm.
that was kind
I'm
of
not
random.
sure
Like,
about, like, that high,
yeah,
but
I've never done cocaine, so I
maybe like
can't.
a maybe like a shroomy high. I don't know.
I would think more of like a MDMA high because you're so like,
Oh, we're going
right?
there. All right.
No, no,
Yeah, no, 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 no. I just feel like we
I
just
don't know
keep
what an
getting like
MDMA high is. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
I was like, we just keep getting harder and harder.
MDMA, is that like a national association? I don't know.
Yeah,
Sorry,
right.
mom. Um,
That euphoric feeling. I get it.
yes, thank you. That's
Mhm.
exactly what I was trying to say. You can fall in love in as less as 4 minutes.
Wow.
So it only
Interesting.
takes less
I
than
mean, I
4 minutes.
guess that would be like the infatuous love that I was talking about
Well,
earlier, where
there's
it's just like
also
lust
probably
filled.
a specific moment that's less than four
Oh,
minutes where you're like, I'm in love with this person.
yeah. Yeah.
But then I guess that could be love at first sight too.
Yeah. Or it's just like your friend. Like I remember when I fell in love with Dan, but it was just something stupid that he did. And I was like, I think I love you. We weren't even dating then either. I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
I'm trying to think of when, like, the moment I fell
Mhm,
in love with Darren, but I was just already like, I had a huge crush on him when we were
mhm.
friends, and I was super like infatuated with him. So I don't know that I can
I
actually
was like that
remember
too.
like the first moment, like where I fell in love. I
Yeah.
know the first moment he fell in love with me,
Yeah. I remember that
funny
too.
enough.
Hmm.
But anyways, next is opposites attract is not a myth. So having different hobbies can actually help the relationship to be more spontaneous, which is why is a factor as to why like opposites attract.
Yeah. I like that.
Adventure can make you feel more in love. This I
Hmm.
can attest to because Darren and I used to travel so much, and there's nothing like traveling and experiencing new adventures with your partner. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Or
the adventure and the spontaneity of it.
yeah. I mean, even like we haven't been traveling as much either. And that was like a big part of our beginning relationship is, taking all these little, even they're just like weekend trips. But even now that we're not traveling and we are exploring our city or just like trying new, oh, we've never been here. Let's go, let's try that out. Or let's go get on our bikes and go find this weird neighborhood. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that can be adventurous in itself where you don't have to always be like planning some major trip. But I totally get what you're saying. That does like I just always feel just more like close and like
Mhm.
it's almost like you guys are sharing a little secret.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it is. Which is funny because Darren and I started as a secret,
Same.
which is probably why everything was so like heightened.
Yeah.
Next is cuddling with the person you love can relieve physical pain. So this is because your body will release oxytocin. Oh my god, I even practiced how to say this.
Oxytocin.
Thank you. AKA, which is the love hormone.
Hmm.
Um,
I've also, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you.
it's okay.
I also heard that it reduces stress and anxiety and all that kind of stuff too. It's actually really good for your heart health, like cuddling and like being
Yeah,
hugged often. Hmm.
makes sense. Next is intense eye contact can make you fall in love.
Mhm. I could see that.
I
I'm
think
getting
it's
some intense eyeballs from Jack Skellington back there.
I was gonna say,
Hey.
well, it's kind of intimidating to have like that intense eye contact with somebody because it's literally like you're gazing into each other's soul. Like,
Mhm.
so I could see why that would be like you fall in love because you're like
Yeah,
connecting on like an intense level, you know? Yeah. You like that. Okay,
I
I'm done.
got
I'm
you.
done with the whole eye thing. Next is face and body attraction actually means something. So if you're attracted to somebody's face, you're more likely to want a long-term relationship to them. Whereas if you're attracted to their body, it's probably more of like a physical fling.
Mhm. I get that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Attraction can be obsessive because it releases hormones and then we end up craving the high, which is why then we become
Mhm.
obsessed.
Mhm. I get that too.
And then lastly, butterflies in your stomach are a real feeling. And this is because it's releasing adrenaline. So it's that rush of adrenaline where you feel the butterflies in
Mm,
your belly.
interesting. I tell Dan all the time, I'm like he'll like just kiss me really deeply and I just like, oh, I like swoon, I still
Mhm.
swoon and I'm just like I get just like he still makes me melt, kind of a deal.
Yeah.
It's just
Like
like,
would you like get that your
oh.
breath taken away where you like
Mhm.
literally can't breathe and you're just like,
Yeah, it's
yeah, I know exactly what
wonderful.
you mean.
It's a great feeling. It's a really great feeling.
But yeah, that's all I have for you. This
I like
quick
those.
10 little fun, interesting facts for you. Maybe you did know them, maybe you didn't. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I like those a lot. Here's another fun fact for you. Just going back to the face thing, if you like know the face. So I've only seen Dan's like actual face once because he has a beard, like a big
Mhm.
beard. For you lovelies that don't know him, he has a big beard. So and he never shaves it off. And so over the course of the pandemic, when we like weren't seeing anybody, I was like, you should shave your beard so I can see what your actual face looks like. And he did it, and he's still very handsome. But
I don't know why, but like Alexis dating that one guy who she thought was a hobo, and I remember he shaves his face, and she's like, "You should have talked to me about this before." From Schitt's Creek.
oh, Schitt's Creek, now it's coming back.
And
Much.
she gets like mad at him for like
Yes.
shaving and not telling
He
her.
was just as handsome without a beard. She was crazy. But I
That
get
that
it.
literally flashed in my mind when you were talking about that.
Yeah. But it was on kind of the same. Honestly, if he did it now, I'd probably be like, oh, we should have talked about this. It just makes him look so manly. I like
Yeah.
it.
I know. I love when Darren like shaves his face and it's like a couple of days later when there's like
Mhm,
stubble growing and I'm like,
mhm.
you look so
Like,
handsome. I love
perfect.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Made him
Anyways,
do that for the wedding. He's like, what do you want my face to look like for the wedding? I'm like, just shave like 2 days before and let it grow out just a little bit and like
it's
on
perfect.
point.
I love that question though. What do you want me to do with my face? Um, smile?
You better cry. All right.
Did he?
I think he got teary eyed.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like he got a little choked up.
I
If
was
I'm
surprised.
remembering his speech.
He got choked up, but I think it helped by him adding humor into his vows.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think
Go
everybody
Dana.
told me he couldn't stop looking at my boobs.
Yeah, you were, let's see here. I was
I was
behind
facing away
you.
from you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was seeing his eyes straight down. I was like, oh my God, she got the right dress.
You have to like show your assets.
100%. Are you kidding me? I'm gonna
But
do the
anyways.
exact same thing. But
Anywho.
anywho,
Anywho.
enough about our
Tatas.
obsession or our boobs, yeah. Um, do you have an
I
affirmation
do.
card for us?
I have an affirmation card for
Well,
you.
I'm glad we could end that on a funny note because I feel like it got
Me
real
too.
in
It
the
did.
middle there.
Yeah.
Whew,
Just, healing some past childhood trauma.
for reals.
Okay. Affirmation is I trust myself and the process of life.
On point again. I love it.
Yeah.
I like that you're showing it now. Look.
So you can see that I'm not lying. I'm like, I don't want to seem like a liar. They're like,
I never
where's she
thought you were
getting these
lying.
affirmations?
I
I
never
don't
thought you were
shuffle the
lying.
deck. I shuffle the deck before though, because it's kind of loud. So
Yeah, I get that. No, I love that though. It's true. You do have to trust the process, when you're in the toxic or you're not. You just trust it
it's all
and
leading you to
get
where
on your
you're meant
merry
to
way.
be and who you're
Mhm.
meant to be.
Yes. And
So
don't ever settle, lovelies. If you don't feel like, no matter what, if you're married for 10 years and you don't feel like you're in the right relationship, there's options.
yeah.
Or if you're just starting or whatever the case is, and something's not sitting right, don't settle. Not to say don't not work on things if you're just like bickering, but you get my drift.
Yeah. Picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. All right. That's all that matters. And remember, you always have something to be grateful for and love
Love
yourself
yourself
truly.
truly.